This is Clash Mini, a brand new auto chess strategy game by Supercell currently being beta tested. And today I'm gonna run through the greatest beginner tips, the 4 biggest advantages, and the 3 biggest disadvantages of this game over traditional auto chess games in what is YouTube's shortest introduction to Clash Mini. But why are we doing this video? Well, it's because Clash Mini is vastly different from all of these other auto chess games out there, and it could become Supercell's next big mobile hit. Or, it could completely flop, of course, but by the end of this video, I guarantee that you guys will know if you want to check it out for yourselves or not. But first, what even is Clash Mini? So overall, the game takes inspiration from auto chess games like Dota Underlords and Teamfight Tactics, which means we deploy units on our side of the playing field and then watch as they, hopefully, destroy the opponents. Then there's a purchase phase, where we can use mana to deploy new units or upgrade existing ones by deploying duplicates, and then the next round starts. And it keeps on like this until one player has won 3 rounds. Now, that's how the standard duel mode works, which is currently 1 out of 2 game modes, with the other one being an elimination style rumble mode that feels more like a traditional auto chess game since we're fighting against 7 opponents in a mini tournament instead of just 1 opponent in the duel mode. But where it starts to get interesting though is that each unit has 3 power-ups or abilities that unlock as they level up during a match, which means each round gets increasingly more chaotic and exciting. And since this is a Clash game, we of course play using many of the units we already know from Clash Royale and other Supercell Clash titles. So the way I see it, Clash Mini actually has several really nice advantages over other auto chess games, and the first one is that the matches are just perfect for mobile, because instead of the typical 20+ minute matches of other auto chess games, Clash Mini matches typically only take a few minutes, which I've been really enjoying. The second advantage is that during a match, our heroes actually level up faster, since we only need 2 of them to level up instead of the typical 3 duplicates that you need in other auto chess games, and this just makes the game feel a bit more rewarding and just overall way more fast-paced. The next advantage is that we can see an outline of where the opponent's heroes were placed in the last round, which adds a bit more strategy to the gameplay as it encourages both us and our opponent to switch up our unit positioning to surprise the other person. And lastly, the game is just simpler to learn and get into as a new player than a traditional auto chess game, since there are no items and no synergy bonuses to keep track of, which I think is a smart move on Supercell's end, because honestly, we don't need another auto chess clone at this point. Now, before we get to the disadvantages, I want to share the best tips and tricks I found so far, because some of these are really gonna make a big difference for you if you're just starting out in this game. And the first tip is to play the rumble mode if you want to have a chance to progress faster. Now, just be aware that it is of course difficult to make it to the last round and get the biggest rewards, as you're basically fighting against a total of 7 other players. But if you're good enough though, it really is the most efficient way to progress fast in the game, and the only downside is that your chances of earning gold are way lower this way. So if you want gold, you should play the duels, and if you want trophies to progress faster, you should play the rumble game mode. Now, this next tip might sound simple, but if you listen carefully, there's actually a very important lesson here, because the second tip is to carefully study your opponent and then think about how you would move around their heroes if you were playing on their side, and then of course change your setup so you can counter that. So the key to this tip is that you shouldn't start by thinking about the changes you want to make, but instead try to predict what the opponents will do, because honestly, once you get through the first few matches, you'll notice that most opponents you meet actually change up their unit positioning pretty much all the time in this game, so it's important to counter these changes. Another thing to remember is that a good defense is often the best offense in this game, because some heroes are just really squishy, and although you might be tempted to play super aggressively, it's often better to just protect these heroes at all costs and then win in the long run instead of just rushing forward. This next one took me far too long to realize, but you can actually remove a hero from the battlefield to regain mana, so you can then deploy new units instead. And knowing this and properly using this feature is gonna make a huge difference for you, and frankly, it's often what's gonna make the difference between winning or losing a game. The 5th tip is a really quick one, but just remember to play competitively as often as you can, as that's the only way to optimize how much gold and trophies you earn. The next tip is to spend some time really understanding the abilities of your units and how they impact your strategy. There's some heroes, for example, that have an ability that triggers at the very beginning of a match, and others that trigger when they've slain an opponent, and you need to understand these to truly become great at the game. And then just remember to do your quests in this game, as they provide great rewards. So before you jump into a match, make sure to see if there's a quest that requires that you play with a certain hero, which is what many of the quests in this game require, and then change your deck so you can complete that quest. But it is time, my friends, to also talk about the disadvantages, and the first and biggest one is that heroes have to be unlocked and leveled up in between matches, which means you might face an enemy that have units that you haven't even unlocked yet, which just frankly doesn't feel great. Secondly, there's no way to play with or against friends in this game, at least so far, which really sucks, but the game is just in beta, so maybe we should cut it a little bit of slack here. This might be added in the future, but if it isn't, this is a great disadvantage over all the other auto chess games out there. And thirdly, once you run out of coins in Clash Mini, you cannot play more ranked matches, and unranked matches matches don't give any trophies and gold either. Now what we can do is we can still complete quests, which also allows us to progress and unlock more things, but it will still be slower than if we had more coins and could play more competitive matches. So we do get a few of these coins every day, and we can buy more of them for in-game gold, or of course through premium currency acquired via in-app purchases. So the great disadvantage here is that this limits how fast we can progress as a free player, although if we grind through it all, we will eventually of course unlock and level up. So there you have it, my friends, Clash Mini. I think it's an interesting take on the auto chess genre. It does have some pay to progress fast advantages for paying players, but as with Clash Royale or Brawl Stars, I think this game can absolutely still be enjoyed as a free player. But let me know if you agree or disagree down in the comment section, and I'll be down there to engage with you guys. Subscribe for much more mobile gaming goodness, and until next time, just keep gaming, stay awesome, and I'll see you guys around.